I'd like to call the meeting to order. We respectfully acknowledge that the Township of Algonquin Highlands is located on Treaty 20 Mississauga territory and in the traditional territory of the Mississauga and Chippewa nations, collectively known as the Williams Treaties First Nations. We also acknowledge a historical shared presence of other Indigenous nations throughout the area. We recognize these original inhabitants as the stewards of its lands and waters since time immemorial. Could I have a mover and a seconder to approve the agenda, please? Thank you, Councillor Barry and Richards.
Moved by Councillor Barry, second by Councillor Richards. Be it resolved, the October 16th, 2025 regular meeting agenda be approved as circulated.
All in favor? And that's carried. Thank you. Is there any disclosure of pecuniary interest today? Seeing none. For those of you who were looking forward to the public opening of our green burial section at St. Stephen's Cemetery this coming Sunday, please note that the event has been postponed for reasons including the poor weather forecast. So stay tuned for our announcement regarding the new date. May I have a mover and a seconder to adopt the minutes? Councillors Barry and Richards.
Moved by Councillor Barry, second by Councillor Richards. Be it resolved that the October 2nd, 2025 regular meeting minutes be approved as circulated.
All in favor? That's carried. Thank you. So we're entering into public meetings and we have one delegation today. Mr. Jerry Pike is here to speak to us. I invite you to come up and is the microphone ready for him? So if you wouldn't mind coming to the table, that would be great.
Jesus.
So thank you for coming. We look forward to hearing what you have to say. Just as a point of process, after you deliver your thoughts, I will ask council if they have any questions for you. But our conversation regarding your request will come after our fire chief's report, slightly later on in the agenda. So we won't be discussing it immediately after your delegation. It will come just slightly further on in the agenda. But soon after. So please give us a summary of your delegation request.
Well, good morning, first of all, Deputy Mayor and councillors. I can assure you, if it wasn't me objecting to the fine that has been sent to me, I wouldn't be here. So I strongly object to the invoice, as I had previously mentioned, but I'm sure, first of all, that you have read thoroughly my account of the events that occurred on September the 3rd and 4th. And I can assure you, just to embellish that a little bit, it was the most horrifying moment and morning of my life to witness what I went through. As I have said, somebody banged on my door when I was asleep and get out, and evacuate immediately. And can you imagine the horror that occurred after that? And then I eventually got out on my deck and saw the blazes below. And fortunately, I got out of the house and I knew at least the house was okay and I was okay. So thanks to an alert property owner across the lake, they quickly noticed the blaze, and I'm thankful for their quickness and called 911. And eventually the fire department arrived and did a wonderful job, as I mentioned in my remarks. I draw your attention, however, to the evening before. I'm first to admit that I did have a small brush fire in my stoned-in pit, abiding by the new bylaw amendment there after 7 p.m. I started the fire at 7:10 or so and quickly extinguished that at about just after 8 o'clock, getting dark. So, and I can assure you, as I mentioned, it was 100% out. No question about it, or I wouldn't have left it. I've been burning in that pit for over 25 years and always followed those process. So the next thing, of course, the fire erupted in and around, I'm saying about 5:30. As I mentioned, it was a 911 call shortly thereafter. So I bring myself to the fire, Chris Shelley's report to you, which I assume you have thoroughly read as well. I think what this whole issue comes down to is a matter of timing. Referring to his report, he makes a reference to the crews discovers a small shed. Well, in effect, it was not a shed, it was my bunkie. A little bit smaller than my neighbor's bunkie. And he further goes on in the second paragraph, and I think this is the point of interest to me, it should be to you. And I quote, "This indicates that the property owner had not fully extinguished the fire by 7 a.m. Well, here's the situation. The fire was totally out after 8 o'clock in the evening before. It had rained from approximately 2 a.m. to the early hours of the phone call. I question why, after 10 to 12 hours, that your fire chief would take a picture well after 7 a.m. and accuse me of not extinguishing my fire as per the bylaw. So in essence, I don't think this invoice is appropriate. And I don't really have much more to say than that. I should mention, if you have questions, I'd be more than willing to respond.
Thanks very much, Mr. Pike, and my sympathies go to you and to your neighbor. A structural fire is a traumatic event, and I'm sorry that you experienced it and that your neighbor experienced it. And I hope you never have to go through anything like that again. I do put to council, do you have any questions for Mr. Pike? Yes, Councillor Richards.
Good morning, Mr. Pike.
Good morning.
On your fire pit, you mentioned it's stone walled in. Is the base also stone or is it ground
It's
soil?
totally circled with stones. And the pit goes down.
Mhm.
And for every fire that you have, it just merely goes to an ash and sinks into the ground.
Yeah.
And would have done so with that rain.
But it's a soil base. It's not a contained underground, right?
Soil base, yeah.
Okay.
Well, there could be stones or whatever's underneath the surface, I'm not sure.
Right. So when you say that you fully extinguished it, can you just tell me what you did to ensure it was fully extinguished?
Well, ample water is my answer. I have more water than I would have needed. But to ensure that it was out, I kept emptying the container that I had and make sure that it was empty.
And can you tell me what the distance is from that pit to Bunkie?
Approximately 15 feet.
Okay, thank you.
Any further questions? Yes, Councillor Barry.
And just, I understand that your neighbor's shed was also part of the fire.
Absolutely.
And I just wonder what the distance is.
The actual fire department, when they arrived, did not arrive on my property. They arrived on the neighbors and extinguished the fire primarily on the neighbor's property. But I was involved as well.
And the neighbors were not having a fire that night as well.
No, not to my knowledge. No.
Okay.
And how far away is your neighbor's bunkie from either your bunkie, well, your bunkie and the fire pit?
Well, they're almost abrupt to each other within the required distance, so I'm guessing 12, 15 feet.
Understood. Thank you. Are there any further questions from council? No. Thank you very much for coming today, and and speaking to this. As I say, very soon in the agenda, we will have a report from our fire chief, and it will be at that point that we deliberate your request. So thanks very much for
So there's no
speaking to us.
major remain.
Not at the desk. You're very welcome to remain in the room, but but not at the desk. Yeah, we'll be needing the desk for
At what
staff.
point will he be coming?
It won't be too much longer. It's a fairly short meeting within the hour, would you say? Yes. Yeah. Mhm. Within the hour. And possibly considerably less. We'll have to
Next,
see.
Debate. Will I have an opportunity to respond to questions from him or?
No, there won't be an opportunity at that
All right.
stage. So if there's anything further you'd like to say now, you're very welcome to say it now.
Well, I think I've expressed my situation and how I feel about this situation.
Okay. Well, thank you very much for coming in.
Thank you.
And could I have a mover and seconder to receive the delegation? Councillor Barry and Richards.
Moved by Councillor Barry, seconded by Councillor Richards. Be it resolved, Council receives a delegation from Jerry Pike regarding an invoice received for daytime burning for information.
All in favor? That's carried. Thank you. So we're moving on to the consent agenda. I have asked if we might pull the financial summary, which is point 10B, just to have a little bit of an update on that. Were there any other points from the consent agenda that anyone wished to pull? No? So then may I have a mover and a seconder to receive the consent agenda, I guess, as amended? Councillor Richards and Barry.
Moved by Councillor Richards, seconded by Councillor Barry. Be it resolved, items listed under the consent agenda are considered routine and enacted in one motion. Each matter of business contained in the consent agenda is recorded separately in the minutes of the meeting, and that council approves the October 16th, 2025 consent agenda, except item 10B, and hereby adopts the staff reports and all recommendations contained therein, and direct staff to proceed with all necessary administrative actions.
All in favor? That's approved. Thank you. So moving along then to our building and bylaw enforcement business, we could invite Mr. Moore to join us. Good morning, Mr. Moore.
Good morning, Deputy Mayor and Council. Yes, this morning is just the monthly activities for the month of September. Department still remains busy with inspections and permitting. Permitting is still basically status quo. It hasn't really increased like I thought it might. Having said that, we did receive over 22,000 in fees and construction value in excess of $4.3 million. So,
Great, thank you. Any questions for Mr. Moore? No? I think you're having an easy day with us today. Thanks very much. Could I have
you.
a mover and a seconder to receive his report? Councillors Richard and Barry.
Moved by Councillor Richards, seconded by Councillor Barry. Be it resolved that council receives building bylaw report BLDG 1425 regarding September monthly activities for information.
All in favor? That's carried. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. And up next is Park Recreation and Trails. So we welcome Mr. Card to join us.
Good morning.
Good morning. I see it's been a very busy month among many busy months.
It certainly has. Highlights, just a couple things to go over quickly. We are at the point of time that we're for seasonal dock removals at all of our landings. So just a reminder to folks that we'll be systematically removing and winterizing our docks at all of our landings over the coming weeks. In line with docks and landings, we have on October 6th started the Russell Landing retaining wall rehabilitation project. So appreciate everyone's patience and willingness to work around the construction as it happens there. Also, we have been able to, as everybody's aware, we have unseasonably low water everywhere in the county. That's created an issue for folks getting larger boats out this time of year, but at the same time, it's created some opportunities for us to be able to do some repair work on some of our landings. So Walker's Line, Big Hawk, and Oxtongue Lake boat launches have each recently had repair work done in conjunction with the Public Works Department. Outside of that, of course, we've just gotten through our busiest fall color weekend at the Dorset Tower, and happy to report the staff did a wonderful job with that. Our traffic control plan remains an asset there, and everybody enjoyed a fantastic weekend. Finally, just to highlight in recreation, really excited that we're going to be offering what's called a fitness success workshop. And this is something that we've been able to partner with Haliburton County on and the Senior Active Living Center program, which has provided funding to us to be able to provide a workshop which will offer training on our weight room equipment, as well as helping people come up with ways to develop their own fitness routine. So great partnership with the county and a wonderful program. And it's the first time we've been able to offer this. So looking forward to seeing that come to fruition.
Great. Thanks very much. And if I could extend my thanks to your team and to the Public Works team. I know that there have been some issues around the launches that have been exacerbated because of the low water levels, and both of your teams were very nimble in resolving some of those problems. So thanks to you both, and thanks to your teams. Any further comments or questions from council? No? I think that's it then. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Have a good day.
Could I have a mover and a seconder to receive the report? Councillors Barry and Richards.
Moved by Council Barry, seconded by Council Richards. Be resolved, Council receives Park Recreation Trails Report PRT 2225 regarding monthly activities for the month of September for information.
All in favor? That's carried. Thank you. And next up, we are into environmental business, and welcome Ms. Murray. Thanks for joining us. The first item on the agenda is the Environment and Stewardship Committee update. I can speak to that. And Councillor Barry, if you have anything to chip in, please do. We've had our first meeting of the Environment and Stewardship Committee after a few months a pause while we sought new members, and I think had a very successful meeting. A lot of keen interest, a lot of great skills, a lot of very good ideas, very solid discussion. You can see in the report what was discussed, and we very much look forward to taking that work forward. Are there any, Lisa, do you have any other comments to make on that?
No, I'm just excited that there's such an uptick with new members, and yeah, everyone seems to want to dig into some good work. So yeah, it's exciting.
Yeah, great. Any comments or questions then? All right. Do we have a motion to receive? We do, yeah. Could I have a mover and a seconder to receive? Councillors Richard and Barry.
Moved by Councillor Richards, seconded by Councillor Barry. Be it resolved, Council receives September 30th, 2025 Environment and Stewardship Committee meeting minutes for information.
All in favor? That's carried. Thank you. And next up, the Environmental Services Activity Report for September.
Thank you. Just to start, thanks to council for your patience and attending the tour of the Maple Lake waste disposal site there, and our chance to experience the scale operations firsthand. So thank you. Just a couple of points, and mainly looking forward, a couple of reminders. We've just started winter hours at all of our waste disposal sites today, so those come into effect right away. And on Saturday, we're planning for the household hazardous waste event at the Maple Lake site from 10 to 2, and we expect that to be a busy day. And those are my highlights.
All right.
Any questions or?
Thank you. Thank you, Melissa. Any questions or comments from the report? All right, I think that's it. Thank you so much. Could I have a mover and a seconder to receive? Councillors Richard and Barry.
Moved by Councillor Richard, seconded by Councillor Barry. Be it resolved, Council receives environmental report EB 1725 regarding September monthly activities for information.
All in favor? That's carried. Thank you.
Thank you.
And next up, moving right along, we've got Public Works Business. Welcome, Mr. Thorne. So first up is the perhaps now moot Airport Advisory Committee minutes. Would you or anyone like to speak to those, recognizing that the event has taken place, but any thoughts on the minutes?
Good morning. Thank you. I did attend the meeting, so it was a really good meeting for us to go through before the fly-in, and the fly-in obviously was a really good success. So we did speak about it last council meeting, but again, I can't share enough great information and great experience that we had for this fly-in, and definitely look forward to planning the new ones for next year.
Yeah, it was a fantastic day. I struggled to get my son off of the airfield. He was just loving his whole day. So thanks to everyone who participated in that. Any questions on these now moot minutes? All right, could I have a mover and a seconder, please, to receive? Councillors Barry and Richards.
Moved by Councillor Barry, seconded by Councillor Richards. Be it resolved, Council receives the September 25th, 2025 Airport Committee meeting minutes for information.
All in favor? And that's carried. Thank you. The Public Works Monthly Activities Report is next.
Thank you. I guess we'll start right at the airport. Obviously, the flying was great. Fuel purchasing, we're definitely up on our fuel sales for jet fuel. Just as I spoke to this in the last meeting, just with the way the forest fires have been happening and how busy the M&R and hydro has been, that's been the contributing factor to it. We've actually just refilled the tanks again, and we're almost halfway through that fuel with the work that they've been performing just within the last week. So it's been extremely busy. In addition to that, we've also been doing a lot of cleanup at the airport, getting it ready for winter operations, going through the motions of that. Looking at our light replacement is another big one at the airport. Moving into some of the buildings, again, getting ready for the seasonal changeover, cleaning and organizing and getting ready for different events. We did have the furnace replaced at the Oxton Community Center. So that was a bit of a time coming, but we were able to get a furnace installed there, a more high efficient, energy efficient furnace. We switched from oil to propane. So that's a good opportunity for us to be more efficient. Other than that, it's just been cleaning and organizing and finishing up the projects. As much as the seasonal weather or the non-seasonal weather we've been experiencing isn't sometimes ideal, we've really enjoyed it because it's been allowing us to get more projects done. So that's been great. And if you have any questions on anything, I'd be happy to answer.
Yeah, thanks, Adam. Lisa.
I was just asked, I attended the Dorset Museum Committee meeting a few weeks ago, and I was just asked to see if there had been any update on the building behind the museum. At one time, there was a tour of possibly whether that would be possibly lifted, if there could ever be a foundation put on it, if there was going to be a repair. I just said when I come back to the meeting next week that I would have an update if there's any work or consideration if that's being looked at.
Certainly, through you, Deputy Mayor. So right now, staff, myself and the project manager, along with engineering firm, have been looking into the building. It's part of the 3-building project that we're going to be bringing back to council with updates on. But just to give you a little snippet of it is that, yes, we did look into the building, and the main issue that the building has right now is accessibility. It doesn't meet any accessibility requirement. As it's a public building, any kind of renovation that we do to it, we have to start considering what that looks like, trying to make it accessible versus building a, say, ground level storage building that would be more accessible, more useful. So right now we're working through the motions of that, and we'll be coming back to council before the end of the year to discuss that, to help us plan for next year.
Okay. I think I just wanted to follow up. I think they have meetings until December, and then there may be a couple months that they don't. So I was just wondering if they'd have an update before December. Like you said, that report will come this fall.
Yes, that's correct. I'm hoping to try and get something to council for the second meeting in November.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Question regarding the North Shore Road rehabilitation. Happy to see that there's a completed detailed plan and profile drawings for the embankment stabilization, et cetera. What is the next step for council? Will those drawings be coming back, or what's next in that process?
Yeah, so that's correct, is that we'll be reviewing the plans with our CAO next week. And then we'll be discussing our next steps on bringing something back to council for further review and process. Yeah.
Great. Okay, thanks very much. It's lovely to know that there's progress being made on that really important piece of work. Great. Good. I think that's all the questions I have. Anything further from council? So if I could have a motion to receive, Councillors Barry and Richards.
Moved by Council Barry, seconded by Council Richards. Be it resolved, Council receives Public Works Report PW 2825 regarding September monthly activities for information.
All in favor? That's carried. Thank you. And finally, some news on the purchase of 2 new pickup trucks.
Thank you. Yeah, so this is the purchase of 2 new pickup trucks. One of the pickup truck is a replacement of a pickup truck that is out of its life cycle, and the other purchase is a brand new purchase. It'll be in addition to our fleet. This was as a report I brought to council earlier in the year, talking about vehicles or lack of vehicles and having to use larger equipment to shuttle people around. I did go to out for pricing on these through a tender. We did specify an electric motor in the tender as well. Unfortunately, we were not given any bids with an electric motor. So it was gas for both vehicles. We received the 2 bids from 2 companies, and these are the results. And we're recommending the purchase of 1 truck from Curry Chevrolet and 1 truck from Mac Lang.
Any thoughts or questions from council on that? Looks fairly straightforward. So may I have a motion to receive and approve? Councillors Richard and Barry.
Moved by Council Richards, second by Council Barry. Be it resolved, Council receives Public Works Report PW 2925 regarding the purchase of 2 new pickup trucks for information and council, and that council awards the bid to Curry Chevrolet Buick GMC Limited for truck number 2, the Chevy 1500, in the amount of $56,424 plus applicable tax. And the council awards the bid to Mac Lang Sunridge Limited for truck number 1, a Dodge 2500, in the amount of $67,610 plus applicable tax. And that council approves the purchase of the recommended accessory equipment and winter tires for both trucks with an set limit of $12,000. And further, council authorized the payment of the 2 pickup trucks and accessory equipment to be funded from the Public Works Equipment Reserves.
All in favor? And that's carried. Great. Thanks very much, Adam.
Thank you very much. Have a great day.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah, please.
I just had a question on the winter road maintenance agreement.
Oh, sure. Yeah. And we were, yes, take it away. That was indeed next. Yeah.
It's kind of been brought to my attention that the individual townships have different rates to the county for the winter maintenance road agreements. I'm wondering why we wouldn't be all the same and where we fit in that with other townships. I haven't looked at other townships, but why would there be a difference?
Through you, Deputy Mayor, I honestly, I don't know. I've never looked at an agreement from another municipality for work to be done to the county. I'm assuming maybe our CAO might with her hand up, but we've always just, this has been our agreement, and we review it every year on costs that it costs us, the township, to plow and maintain their roads. And that's how we've gone through it every year.
Did you have a comment?
Yes, Deputy Mayor. Historically, those were negotiated directly with the county based on the costs for each municipality. So those costs are different for each municipality based on what they pay their operators, what they pay for sand, that sort of thing. So historically, that's how they've been negotiated differently. Don't disagree that probably it's something that the Public Works group could look at and talk to the county about. But our increases each year based on cost of living, and that's been very historic. Yeah.
Indeed, and it has been discussed at county council briefly, and there are reports there. I'm sure you've seen them too, where there is a breakdown of the 4 different agreements with the county. And it is something that a number of councillors have pointed out and wish to take forward. So I'd be happy to also return that question to county council and see whether it's something the Public Works Group would be able to take on and think about. Adam, did you have something else?
Yes, please. So just to elaborate further on that as well, we don't purchase our winter sand. We create our own winter sand. So I think that's also a factor of why our pricing is the way it is. So we have municipal owned pits that we make our sand out of versus purchasing it from a contractor. So I think that's a huge factor there as well.
That makes sense. Yeah, Sabrina.
Yeah, I just think that maybe that should be explored. I mean, it is a benefit to us, certainly. But if other townships are capitalizing on it more than us, there is the level that we want to be as fair to the county as possible. We're all one county. But I would think there would be a greater balance amongst us to stabilize that. I mean, we have an advantage perhaps, but there are shared costs that I think we need to,
Yeah, fair point. I
Agree.
think the Municipal Act does preclude any township taking a profit off of any off of any agreement. So I suspect we really are talking about differentials of what things cost to provide the supplies and operate it. But a breakdown of those costs would be a very valid question to ask for. So yeah, we can certainly ask for further details there.
Yeah, I would just think that like what we're looking at is if it's better for us to do it because of that, perhaps, sharing sand, I don't know, it would all have to be looked at, but i- we shouldn't be paying more in all of our county fees taxes because another township doesn't have the advantage that we do.
I think we'd need someone to explain the math a little bit. I'm not convinced we would be paying more. We are
Not
the ones who would
necessarily.
be receiving that amount of money for rendering the services to the county. Adam, did you have another comment? Saw your hand.
Yeah, thank you. So just to help again, is that, so we do collaborate with the county on salt. So when we do our salt purchases, it does come through the county as a collaboration to help save some money there. When it comes to utilizing salt for county roads in the wintertime, we don't purchase that salt. That salt is provided to us by the county for county roads. So there are some savings in the sense that we see for their roads, but we do charge them for every time we're on their road. And actually, council approved a couple of years ago, I believe, just after COVID, for the digital software that went into our trucks that calculates how much material we use, and we have geofences set up on county road. So every time our truck goes over a county road and applies material, or the plow is up or down, it tracks all that information, and it also it's more exact for our billing process. So but certainly if council wants something further or wants to look into something, I certainly can. Through our contract, it does spell out exactly what we charge for each piece of equipment. And we just did a revise of it, I want to say, back just around COVID, to add in plow costs as far as like the blades, how much it costs to replace the blade, how much it would cost to replace a spinning chain and things of that nature. So we did do an in-depth look at our fees, and we did bring our fees up quite a bit. But again, it's not for us to make money off it. It's just cover our costs.
So point of process then, is that something that the Public Works group within the county would look at your request, or shall I take that back to county council and make it a formal request to county council? Because it sounds like we've got a very clear breakdown of why we charge what we do for our operations. Anything further would have to be a more of a group effort at county. Do you have thoughts on that?
It is something that if each municipality wanted the group to look at, they could certainly do that. I'm not sure, I'm not sure how county council would look at wanting to pay us all the same thing.
Mhm.
When what they pay now is based on cost.
Indeed, and I don't think that a request would include that provision at least at the outset. I think the question would be more the way that we calculate our costs. Is it the same amongst the four townships in order to ensure that there is an equitable charge there? It could be that some townships are charging for things that others are not charging for. I don't know. I think that would probably be the nature. It's a fact-finding mission more than anything.
Yeah, and so I think that direction should come from county
Okay.
to their director, and he can bring those numbers back.
So I'm sure the mayor and I would both be happy to take that to county and see what we hear back. Thank you for raising it. I've noticed that as well on the county reports, and we have discussed it, as I say, briefly at county, but the other councillor members have also been a little bit unclear of the details of that differential. So it's a really valid point to make. Thank you. Any further thoughts from you, Mr.
No,
Thorne?
good, thank you.
Okay, thanks very much.
Thank you. Have a great day.
And moving on to fire services business. Welcome, CJ.
Good morning, Deputy Mayor and Council.
Good morning. So you do not have a monthly report for us this month, but you do have a report regarding the delegation that we heard from a little bit earlier regarding the burn invoice.
Correct.
Could you walk us through your report?
Yes, so my report outlines what the fire service did when we arrived on scene and what was found during that time. And it does address Mr. Pike's concerns about his fire pit.
So would you just talk us through that day and some of the relevant points in your report so we can ask some questions on those points?
Absolutely. So the call came in at 7:08 a.m. and the fire service responded and found two small structures on fire. During the suppression operations, I arrived on scene during the suppression operations, and one of the firefighters brought me down to the fire pit and identified that the fire was still in the pit and smoldering. And I asked them not to suppress that particular spot at the moment, just focus on the structures, and was able to grab a couple of pictures and determine that the fire was still going.
So would you kindly clarify what you mean by the fire still going? Were there open flames or?
And thank you through you, Deputy Mayor. No, there was no open flames. However, our bylaw does clearly cover smoldering as well. And the fire pit did have smoldering areas in it with white ash, smoke coming from some of the materials in the pit as well. In my opinion, definitely enough to reignite a fire. The other factor was the rain. Absolutely, it did rain heavy throughout the morning hours and during the suppression operations. And even with that rain, there was still white hot smoldering ash and debris in the fire pit.
Okay. I have a couple of questions, but I'll turn to council first. Yes, Deputy, Councillor Richards.
If the fire pit is 15 feet away from the bunkie, and even if it was smoldering, how do you account for it reaching 15 feet away?
I absolutely do not make any determination as to how those bunkies were lit on fire. What I am speaking to is the fact that there was still a smoldering fire in Mr. Pike's pit.
Okay. If a fire occurred on anyone's property as an accidental fire, would we lay a fine to them?
Thank you. And through you, Deputy Mayor. An accidental fire. Can you elaborate on that? Are we speaking about an accidental fire in a fire pit on the ground or an accidental structure fire?
Okay, let's say, I left my gas burner on by accident and a fire started within my home.
within your home.
Yeah.
So that's, to me, is quite different. What we are dealing with here is a fire that was started intentionally and not extinguished properly. So if an accidental fire, no, we wouldn't be, that would be a structural fire, something that was clearly not set intentionally.
So for the purposes of clarification, the report and indeed the charge that was laid has nothing to do with the structural fire. It is not related at all. There's no indication in the report or in conversations with fire department that the two are even necessarily related. The only question before us today is, was there fire in the fire pit outside of the regulated hours of 7 to 7? Yes or no? That's the only thing that matters here. The fact that there was a structural fire is terrible, but it's not part of today's conversation. Apart from feeling terrible for anyone who has to experience it, which I know we all do. For the purposes of clarification, would you be able to tell us, what does fully extinguish mean in fire language? What does it mean and what does it look like? And how does one know if something
you.
has been fully extinguished?
Through you, Deputy Mayor, a fire is fully extinguished when there is no more heat, no more smoke. In theory, I could stick my hand in the fire pit and it's cold and wet.
So it's not just about open flame, it's about,
Smoldering is part of this as well. A smoldering fire can cause some issues down.
Councillor Barry.
You hear about fires that have been extinguished and then there's something that goes underground. Do you think that that is the case of this fire?
Thank you. Through you, Deputy Mayor. I would hesitate to determine whether the fire, I think we're going back towards what caused the structure. I did not see any indication of fire going underground through this particular fire pit. But absolutely, to build on that, I've run into this quite a few times where people just don't understand how much water it actually takes to put out a fire. They do believe in their minds that they have it out, and in fact, they don't.
Indeed, and I've certainly experienced that in my life, how much water it does take. Could you give us a general scenario of how much water it takes to fully extinguish a very hot fire?
I can actually refer to a call that we were at just a few days ago, and it was a smoldering ground fire, very similar to the type of smoldering that we've seen in the fire pit. And with a forestry nozzle digging, we actually put, I think it was close to 1,000 liters or gallons of water on that fire, as well as we used hand tools to dig up the areas and expose any hidden heat spots and hot spots, and then reapply water. So.
Which is, I suppose, more than one would expect the average citizen to put on the fire, but indeed, it's an awful lot of water, more than one would expect.
Absolutely, and we did have some bystanders, actually a neighboring property that was observing us while we were doing this, and they also came over and commented on they did not think it would take that much water. Then we started using hand tools and exposed a lot more of the heat.
Final question. We've had an extremely dry summer. Are the dry conditions compounding concerns when it comes to fires in our area, and putting out fires, fully extinguishing fires?
It definitely takes a lot of effort to fully extinguish a ground fire, and most cases will go back the next day to confirm that it's out. After suppressing a ground fire, we like to stick around as long as we can because it takes time for the area to kind of dry off a bit, and then hot spots will show themselves and gives us areas to go back to and finish up what we call mop up. As for the conditions so far, the canopy is off the trees, the sunlight's directly impacting the forest floor and drying it out pretty quickly. So the fires that I've seen happening are mostly surface fires going through the leaf litter. But hopefully this rain in the forecast shows up, and that will definitely help for the rest of the burning period.
Yeah. My take on this request from the delegate is that while I do hold full sympathy for what happened, when the fire team arrived in the morning, the fire was not extinguished. It is there was visible smoke, there was visible hot white ash. So from a strict definition of the bylaw, the fire had not been extinguished sufficiently. And for me, that makes the decision rather simple. But I'd like to hear from others. Yes, Councillor Richards.
I do agree with that the fire was not extinguished sufficiently. However, where I differentiate on that is that I don't believe it was intentionally not extinguished sufficiently. And if we would not charge someone who accidentally caused a fire within their home, I'm struggling to see why we would do so when they have accidentally not fully extinguished outside their home.
I hear what you're saying. I think it's a bit apples and oranges, though, because we're not talking about structure fires. We're talking about active, smoldering or burning fires outside of ours. And accidental or not, the bylaw doesn't say, it doesn't specify whether it has to be intentional or accidental. It's whether it exists because of the public safety concerns that are presented when things are not extinguished fully. Yes, Deputy Chief.
Thank you, through you, Deputy Mayor. I think one of the key factors here is it was intentionally lit. Once you intentionally light a fire, you are fully responsible for the complete suppression of that fire.
And that in no way suggests there was an intention to do harm or intention to have that spread. It was simply a fire that was lit on purpose for the purposes of whatever purposes they had and with the full intention to suppress after. Yes. Yes, Councillor Richards.
Yeah, I also intentionally turn my gas burner on in a house and don't intentionally not turn it off. It's the same concept. Yes, the fire was lit intentionally, the burn brush. I don't believe this man did not intentionally put it out. And I think it's a pretty high price to pay for what happened in destruction of his bunkie and his neighbor's bunkie. So, I find this very penalizing, but it is a very fine line, a very, very fine line on making sure that the fire is put out. Um, and a very serious consequence to our community when it's not.
So are you?
I don't take away from the gravity of that at all. I just I have a hard time accepting that it was intentional in any way.
I think as per the Deputy Chief's comments, it was intentionally lit. It was not an intentional spread, and we don't even know if it was spread, but a brush fire in a pit was intentionally lit, and I think that's fairly straightforward. Do you then vote against the report? Do you wish to deny the motion presented in the report?
I don't think we're called for a vote yet, and I think Councillor Barry would like to discuss it.
Councillor Barry.
I know from, different camping experiences, we've had I'm thinking at like a park or something that we've had a fire, we've extinguished it. And then you get up in the morning and the sun has hit those coal beds. and there's smoldering, you're up early and so you can re-extinguish it. So I think given the gravity of the dryness that we are, I've seen that happen on many camping trips, not just at my campsite, but at other campsites where in the morning when that sun comes up, those extinguished fires often re-smolder. I have no doubt that this was not this fellow's intention. But I think given the extreme dryness that we've been in, any fire should have had that extra caution. I understand that there was rain, but I think the part that I find hard to deal with is that there were structures so close. I know we're not talking about the structures, but they were so close that they were engulfed in flames, and it could have actually been worse. And inevitably, we still had to send out fire. It doesn't seem like it was a smoldering, smoky coal bed that we're laying the charges for. You know what I mean? Like, it's not like there was smoke and there was an actual fire. There was items that were caught on fire, and there could have been more structural fires. So yeah, I have trouble not accepting the chief's recommendation.
I absolutely take your point. Once again, we do need to remove the structure fire from our conversation. It's hard not to, but we don't actually have tangible proof that one is related to the other. It's not something that the deputy chief is creating a report on. But I am in agreement with your observations about the really dry conditions and how things do tend to reignite. And in this case, it had reignited or had continued, one or the other, but it was active at the time of their arrival. Yes, Councillor Berry.
And by no means am I a fire expert, but I also wonder, you have a fire pit that's contained the fire. I don't know how a smoldering fire from the night before could engulf another building without that proper extinguishing.
But once again, we're not discussing the structural fire. So that's not something that we would speculate on in this conversation.
I guess I have a question for the fire chief. Was in the fire pit, was there enough, obviously there was material to ignite another fire? Or was it, that's.
There was, sorry, thank you.
Through you, yeah.
Mayor. There definitely was material smoking and visible hot white ash. I was not willing to stick my hand in it to see how hot it was. It was plenty of heat to determine that it was clear cut. This is a smoldering fire pit. That, yes, I would say that because of the rain, the possibility of it continuing is slim, but the fact is that it was absolutely there, and yes, the potential would have been there for fire spread. And I would also like to note that when I observed this in the photos, the timestamp was 8:14, meaning that particular fire pit had been subjected to the heavy rain for quite some time and was still at that level.
Councillor Richards.
I understand the point to separate the discussion from the structural versus the pit. I do, but it lends credibility to the amount of extinguishing done in the pit. If done fully and properly, would potentially not have led to those structural fires. So it's not irrelevant to not discuss it and to understand how those structures were aflame. 15 feet, 30 feet away with a further structure. That's quite the distance. It tells me most likely that was a root fire that spread. Unless you're telling me that there was a ton of debris between these buildings, I can't see any other way for them to be lit. Or this fire was smoldering so badly and not put out at all that it just flew and we could have potentially had a big fire. And if that's the case, then clearly it was not extinguished anywhere near properly.
And I think to that final point, that is why we have this bylaw. It is to make sure that these fires, which are intentionally set for recreational or cleanup purposes, are so fully extinguished that there is zero chance or very, very low chance of something catching. I think that's the piece here. We're going to have to wrap up the conversation, but I'll look to Councillor Barry
I think
next.
inevitably fire services were called. There was fire trucks that were brought in. There was services that had to be happen. Like someone has to pay for that service. And if the fine is not put in place, then that gets spread out the entire township. It's unfortunate, but I also think that it's a learning lesson for the entire township and beyond, that the amount of water that's needed to extinguish this.
Yeah.
And due diligence to check that it is extinguished, you know.
Deputy Chief, could you confirm for the public when there is a call for a smoldering fire, no structure fire in the neighborhood, but even just a small smoldering fire outside of the permitted hours, do you send fire trucks to resolve that issue?
Yes, we do. We take ground fires very seriously. We will send a truck out to suppress the smoldering fire at whatever level it's at.
Right, to your point then, yeah. All right, so we've got a motion on the floor. Would you perhaps read the motion so we know what we're voting on? Is that all right?
Seconder after?
Well, just if we could maybe hear the motion to remind ourselves of the nature of it, and then
Be resolved, council receives fire services report FD 1225 regarding open air fire bylaw infraction, request for waiving invoice fees for information, and the council concurs with the recommendation made by the deputy fire chief and denies the request by Mr. Pike to have the invoice for fees waived.
is there a mover and a seconder on this? Moved by Councillor Barry, seconded by Councillor Richards. All in favor? That's carried. Thank you very much. Finance business is next. Welcome, Jeannie. Thanks for coming. I wanted to simply ask regarding the financial summary. In the report, you mentioned that as of the end of September, we were about 65% spent and only 55% received on our expected receivables. Is that something that concerns you, or is that pretty much on schedule? What can you offer any context to that?
Thank you, Deputy Mayor and Council. I'm not concerned. I think we're right in line where we need to be. September 30th, after that date, we will have October revenues coming in from the tower, which will be significantly higher. And the quarterly funds from the government are still coming in October. So I'm not concerned. I think we're right in line. Our busy season is the summer and things start to slow down in the fall. So the 65% expenditure, again, is right in line, again, because of weather and so forth. So I think we're good.
Great. Thank you very much. It's good to have that reassurance.
Thank you.
And is there a separate motion to receive the financial report? Could I have a mover and a seconder for that? Councillor Barry and Councillor Richards.
Moved by Councillor Barry, seconded by Councillor Richards. Be it resolved, council receives report TT 2725 regarding the financial summary for information.
All in favor? That's carried. Thank you. We have no communications or administration business today, so I'm happy to welcome Mr. McCallahan to talk us through our Committee of Adjustment meeting minutes.
Yes, thank you. Good morning. I don't have any comments on it, but happy to answer any questions should council have any.
Any comments or questions regarding those minutes? Your job here is done. Thank you very much, Sean.
Thank you.
So could I have a mover and a seconder to receive the minutes? Councillors Richard and Barry.
Moved by Councillor Richards, seconded by Councillor Barry. Be it resolved, council receives the September 26, 2025 Committee of Adjustment meeting minutes for information.
All in favor? That's carried. Thank you. External board meetings is next. Councillor Richards, do you have anything for us from Upper Trent or Muskoka Watershed Council?
Neither of them at this point. Although I would like to give a little bit of a shout out to the CEWF for doing such a wonderful job of keeping the community updated on the low water levels in the absence of the Upper Trent, having that communication with them directly.
Thanks for that. And anything from Halls Hawk regarding their source water protection work?
There was a recent meeting. There hasn't been one since then. I did comment on that at last council meeting.
Okay, thank you. I have no news from Mayor Danielson regarding the OPP Detachment Board. And I have nothing to report from the Library Board, apart that repairs at Dorset Rec Centre are going swimmingly, no pun intended, and hopefully will be reopening fairly soon. So thanks for everyone's patience on that. And nothing further for me on community safety and well-being or Muskoka River watershed. So I believe that's all for external boards. Yes, there's a county update, but I do not have a county update. And I see there have been no notices of motion submitted. Were there any points of correspondence that anyone wanted to raise? Oh, that's right. Oh, yes. Were there any points of correspondence? No. Okay. So could I have a mover and a seconder to receive the correspondence listing? Councillors Barry and Richards. Sorry.
Moved by Councillor Barry, second by Councillor Richards. Be it resolved, Council receives the October 16th, 2025 correspondence listing for information.
All in favor? That's carried. We do not have a closed session, so we are straight into bylaws. Could I have a mover and a seconder to receive the bylaws? Councillors Richards and Barry.
Moved by Councillor Richards, seconded by Councillor Barry. Be it resolved, the following bylaws be received and read a first time, considered read a second and third time, and finally passed with the corporate seal affixed. 2025-91 to stop up, close, and convey part of the original shore road allowance for Emerson. 2025-92 to stop up, close, and convey part of the original shore road allowance for Buttery and Chisholm. 2025-93 to stop up, close, and convey part of the original shore road allowance for Johnson. 2025-94 to stop, close, and convey part of the original shore road allowance for Bolton. And 2025-95 to execute an agreement with the County of Halliburton for county road winter maintenance.
All in favor? That's carried. Thank you very much. And a mover and a seconder for the confirmatory bylaw. Councillors Barry and Richards.
Moved by Councillor Barry, seconded by Councillor Richards. Be it resolved that bylaw 2025-96 being a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of council held during its October 16th, 2025 regular meeting be received and read a first time, considered read a second and third time, and finally passed with the corporate seal affixed.
All in favor? That's carried. And finally, a motion to adjourn. Councillors Richard and Barry.
Moved by Councillor Richards, seconded by Councillor Barry. Be it resolved, the meeting is hereby adjourned at 10:02 a.m.
All in favor? That's carried. Thanks very much, everyone.